Welcome to the 180 podcast with Reni and Aaron Mace on this cold and windy day.
Freezing,
Winter is here. Rugby
Yes.
league is buzzing.
You'll have to speak up today, boys, because I can't hear out on my left ear.
And I've got man flu.
Yeah, you've always got it.
What's that? What's the go with that?
I've got swimmers ear, Braith. I've had it for a while.
Yeah.
Haven't been able to hear out of my left ear for a week. It's not funny, mate. You don't realise how much you appreciate your hearing until it's gone. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Good point you make.
Yeah. Yeah, mate. How's your week been?
Yeah, good. It's been a good week. What have I done? Not much. I've worked, just work.
Yeah,
We did the Unibet ad yesterday,
Yes.
and I was very impressed with your acting.
It was all right, wasn't it? Got a lot of DMs, mate. Everyone actually thought I was on home and away. So
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my big break. Home and away.
Got to get
Yeah.
your hearing fixed before you
Yeah, I
step into
know.
that.
That's why my acting was poor, Braith.
Yeah,
I
what
couldn't
was that?
hear.
He said it was good. The report.
Yeah, you know he's taking the piss.
No, it was really good. I was proud of you.
No, that was a bit of fun. Little Chinese
Did anyone
restaurant.
hit you up for jobs after that?
No one. I'll be
Shocked.
waiting. So when the ad comes out, I'll be expecting a lot of phone calls.
Before we get to the show, how's your week's all right? All good? You
Yeah.
crook at
Mate,
the
I've
moment.
had a
You're
busy-
wounded as well, aren't you?
I am a little bit wounded. I'm all right. Just flu. That's this time of year. Everyone seems to bloody have it.
Yeah.
I've actually had a big week, Braith. Just going off the bar. I went to Origin.
Are you looking at your notes to tell us how this week
No.
was?
I'm,
Have you got your notes out to tell
no,
us how
I don't
your
have
week
any
was?
notes out, mate. I just got a message.
Oh, a DM, another one.
Yeah.
After that stellar performance
Mate,
yesterday.
yeah.
How was Origin? How
Origin
the
was good.
atmosphere?
You know what? I know it's been spoken about a lot, but we're on a flight there with Tamata Tahu, and when we got off the plane, there was an actual Blues billboard. And then going around the city, it didn't feel like Origin. It was legit. It wasn't hostile. It was just felt a bit flat. Went up with me brother and Sparkles, one of
Yeah.
our best mates, and went to Caxton before it. It just felt like a normal club
Yeah,
game.
we spoke when you landed, and you kind of said, and I said to you that, mate, it'll fire up. Like it's only morning when you landed, but apparently it didn't. I've heard from other people as well that it wasn't as, I would say, parochial. Is that a word?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't as
It just didn't feel.
intimidating
It did not
and
feel like
It
Origin.
didn't feel like Origin. The
Nah.
game didn't feel that much
Yeah.
like Origin. Like the
Yeah.
actual game.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a good one.
No.
And we'll probably talk about that a little bit later on. But
Yep.
you got to leverage that first game in Suncorp like Queensland didn't. And it sounds like they didn't probably leverage it. They didn't on field, but off field as well. If they weren't really into it like they usually are.
Maybe Laurie bluffed him. Remember from the very start. Hate's a strong word, and he just
Yeah.
diffused the whole Origin.
So now he's a genius.
He's a genius.
Long way to go. I don't like all this talk about Queensland, being the biggest losers at the moment. Because Dean
know.
Ritchie did an article. He put it on 360 last night, and I had to cut him off. I'm like, just stop, mate. This is what they want. We're
Yeah.
feeding into what they want, what they thrive off, what makes them so good at Origin is the underdog tag, and we're giving it straight to them.
Yeah, stuff.
I don't like it too much. Just to give you some help, because you haven't read your notes properly over there, Burley.
Yeah.
You wanted to do
Yeah, no, I'm going to
you
give
heading to
out.
Burleigh?
I'm heading up to Burleigh on Friday. I'm going up to the Salento Surf Carnival. It's the surf of Origin. So myself and Mick Fanning will be leading the Blues, and Ash Harrison and Joel Parkinson will be leading the
Marco
Queensland
and Harrow.
side. So it's a surf of Origin. So if you're up there and you're a New South Wales supporter, come and support us. Mark Ocalupo, Rob Machado is also in the New South Wales team.
How's Big Ocky looking
Occy,
these days?
mate, he's the grouse. He's my childhood hero. So is
Same.
Machado. So Machado grew up in the States, but I'm pretty sure he was born in Sydney. So he's going to represent the Blues. And then who else has Queensland got? Queensland have B. Durbridge and Louis Hines. So they've got a strong side.
Who are the favourites?
It's got to be the
Is there a
Blues. You
market?
can't have it.
Yeah, it's
So
surely
this is a Taylor Steele event, a Salento, and he did. I remember he had momentum. He had some good surf movies back in the 90s. But there's one surf movie that I grew up watching on repeat was Good Times. So Taylor Steele is one of my filmmaker heroes, and I'm excited to go up there. So I'm staying at the Mondrian.
Are you telling us that, or are you telling the DMs that?
Hey, take it as you will, brother.
Are you going to those DMs from your acting yesterday? Reni from Queensland.
all around the Gold Coast area. Yeah,
Oh, the Reni Matua tour.
the tour's well and truly on.
Or you can
The
eat.
my tour.
Let's move into footy.
All
eh?
right, let's get to the footy. And let's get to, we have to, I know, Lachlan Galvin, because we have been talking about him, as has everyone else, but the decision, he's been named in the 22 extended bench for the Bulldogs to take on Parramatta. Parramatta he nearly went to, so the story's even bigger there. We had Junior Barlow on last night. I spoke to him about it, whether they'd target him. They target everyone.
What did he say?
Well, he danced around it, but there was they target all, halves, newcomers. He's going to get targeted anyway, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think if you're a para player, you're not going, he didn't come to us, let's bash him. Oh, are you? Are you?
You're going to target any young player. Really?
So you insinuating he's playing?
Yeah, that's what
Okay, so
Because that's what I've skipped that.
I won't say much. I can't give away too much detail, but we spoke to someone at the Bulldogs, very, very, very influential, and they said
Gus?
no, it's not Gus, but big chance of playing. Toby's named at 7, which was interesting considering they said that they were going to drop him when they signed Galvin. That was the reason they'd signed Galvin. That was a bit of their, I got the feeling that was a bit to soften the blow. I'm not quite sure if that was true or if it was just to
take some pressure.
Pressure off their decision of getting Galvin. Well, we're going to drop Sexton anyway, But either way, Sexton's got pressure on him. I mean, you got Galvin on the bench. They've said they've brought Galvin over to play in the halves, and they think they don't have a premiership winning roster as it is.
Yeah.
So if you're poor Toby,
yeah,
you've got some heat on you already, and now you've got someone chomping on your heels on the bench.
Competition is healthy.
It is healthy. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you're Toby, you're probably feeling it at the moment. But going back, I was told that he would be he'd be on the extended bench, definitely. And he was.
Yeah.
But also he's probably more than a 50% chance of playing.
Okay.
On the bench?
On the
or
bench.
starting?
He won't be starting.
No, he won't
if he
start.
plays, it's off the bench.
Okay.
Toby's definitely starting.
Toby's
so that's definite 100%. It's just whether they and why would you name him on the bench if you're not going to play him? Why would you name him on the extended if you're not going to play him? Tell me, give me one reason.
Every week you've got an extended bench, so
yeah, but you don't
doesn't
put
mean he's going to
people on
play.
Well,
there's another 4 players on the extended
but why would
bench.
you put him on the extended bench like a new signing for that much money if you weren't going to play him?
Well, I mean, he's part of the top 30, so someone has to be on the
And
extended.
there's a high risk of doing an ACL in the warm-up.
You're very naive, Ren.
Very what?
Naive with this. Oh, you can't hear me.
I can't hear much, mate. Look, let's just say he is playing. He's on the bench. I need to do sign language. It'd be interesting to see how Serrato is going to play him. If you're going to have, he'll have a very light bench because you'll have Hayward on the bench.
Yeah.
Then if you have Lockie there, then you're left with
He's got
2
Harry
middles.
Hayes, Hopboy.
So
who's named in the bench now?
It's Harry Hayes, Lipboy, Hopboy, and
he's going well too, by the way.
And Curtis Moran.
So it's a light bench.
Curtis Moran will drop off.
Okay.
No, I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
But, I think it's not your stereotypical bench if you carry Hayward and Galvin in. I said this last night on 360, but with a circumstance like this, you got Hayward who can play 9 or 13. You've got Lockie who can play anywhere, really, like if you really wanted him to. I just think that, and I said it again, like, why hold him back? Yeah, where's it going to get you? Where's it going to get him? Just throw him in. Throw him into the fire. Like, see how he responds, get him used to the team environment, get him used to the plays and the setup and watch it, firsthand on the field, whether you put him in a key position or not. Just get him in and amongst it. I don't, if you've bought him to take your team to another level and to win a premiership, then why wait 1 or 2 weeks? Why wait 1 or 2 weeks?
I don't see a problem with him waiting a week, Ciro, because I've been to their training and I see how much detail goes into their defence. There's a lot for him to pick up. There's a lot of movement. There's probably a lot of calls that he has to work around. And if he wants to build trust within that side, it comes around defence.
Yeah.
So if Ciro leaves him out this week, I'm not I don't really care
Yeah.
too much. You can
But
give
what
him
it-
another week to adapt to their
I
style
totally
of
agree with you.
defence.
I agree with you. But
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that if you didn't intend on playing him this week, there's
Why
no
name him?
advantage in name. Like, does that mean he's undecided on a Tuesday whether he's going to play? Would you be undecided as a coach on a Tuesday if he's going to play?
Well, I think he would be because he's only just got him into the
Yeah.
system. So,
So what's he
needs
want to see then during the week to make him play?
he wants to see how quick he can pick up their system, how quick. Because I don't think he's too worried about the attack.
Yeah.
Because he's already going to be starting off the bench, come into a role that's going to not probably suit his game anyway. But defensively, where you build your trust with the foundation, how you win
But how
competitions.
are you going to know that at training?
Sorry?
How are you going to know that at training?
Well, that's why another
Yeah.
week he will probably know like where
But
he's
what
at.
I was trying to say is this week, you're saying that Ciro's going to wait and to give you to support you is that it's a Monday, so they've got even longer.
Yeah.
So I don't. It probably adds validity
Validity.
to.
Are your ears all right?
I'm trying to use two big words. Like, calm down.
It's just a podcast,
I'm on
mate.
a podcast with you two. Fucking- I don't know. Yeah,
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it makes it more valid that to the reasoning of leaving it or naming him there because they got extra time.
Yeah.
And he probably undecided so early on in the week for a Monday game.
Big occasion too. Rival club. You know, don't throw him into the furnace just yet. Maybe just give him that extra week. You know, so
You know what I reckon they've named you for anyway? Ticket sales.
yeah, fair
Like,
point.
well, if you leave him off, you know, like everyone's thinking he's going to play, or at least maybe he's a big chance of playing. So people are going to go want to go and see that first game, especially him against Para. So
great
if I'm
point.
Canterbury, I think it's a smart move to name him anyway.
Yeah,
You know, like you want to get people through the gates.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking bit with my business
yeah.
hat on,
Are there any? Hopefully, there's some barbers in Belmore for the kid.
mate, he's stolen your.
He's on your bike.
Yeah, there's
He's
three
on the
of you.
bike. Reedy's off.
He's stolen your thunder with that haircut.
That hairdo's awful. You know, my nephew's got the same. It's an in thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it what?
Yeah.
How is that in? Like
yeah.
how?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's shocking.
All the kids in Queensland have it, so
If I had a son
yeah,
and he come home like that,
it's awful.
you instantly get the clippers out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Well,
you?
Definitely.
just shave it straight off. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bad.
Maybe he's a big fan of the
bad
podcast and he
dude.
felt left out.
Love more to do. It's
He
awful.
wanted to be Lloyd Christmas.
Well, there's plenty of room.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to him. His footy. So, where do you play him? If he plays, let's just quickly touch on that.
I don't know, Braith. I don't know. Coming off the bench, I wouldn't put him at 13 because I don't think he's defensively strong or big enough yet to be defending in the middle.
Who's at 13?
Kurt Man.
Can play 80.
Yeah.
Great defender. I think we've been missing him a little bit. So I just don't know where he comes on. Like you're not going to shuffle your halves around.
No, you would. That's actually something that would be an eye opener if they start the game poorly and they hook Sexton and put him on. Imagine that.
That would just destroy him, wouldn't it?
I don't think you could do that.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's the potential to do that. You know, like bang, they've started because they've been very. They didn't criticise Sexton at all until about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Even when they lost rarely this year, it was never Sexton's fault.
No.
But now you hear the noise more about, he's just got to be better at certain things. We're coaching him through it and we're hoping that he gets there. So there's this public doubt now when they were all in-house about him. So I've noticed that a lot. Like it's been, he's doing really well. We're working with him behind the scenes to improve in certain areas, as is every player. This is nearly word for word of Serrato last night. So, they're publicly making it known that he's on notice, which is
As a former half,
Yeah.
where does Toby need to improve? Where do you think? What do you think he's lacking?
That's a tough question because Toby's not, he's very basic in the way that he plays, but he's effective in what he does. Like his short kicking game's really, really good, on point majority of the time, rarely misses. His short passing game is really good as well, as we've said a number of times because of their systematic play.
Yeah.
He tends to get them to where they need to get to it inside of their system and execute well. That's what he does. Like if you ask him what he needs to improve, maybe his running game. I think that's, the threat of run is always a big thing for a 7, and not enough 7s have that. And the ones that are elite are the ones that can run and pass at any given time are a threat to run or pass, because then you get the defence in two minds, and that opens the field up for everyone else around him. So, I think that's probably a key. Early ball to your key players, your centres and DeBerto, like probably don't get enough of that, but they don't play that way either a lot, but I think that's what they've I think they've built their team around the players they've got, and that's what they've been the best at, the Bulldogs, and that's why they're so successful. They haven't done it the other way around, so they play to their strengths, and Toby's strengths are limited, and that's why their game plan is limited, and that's probably why they don't have the X factor in that game to get to a grand final and win it. See, when you throw a Galvin in there, he's got X factor and the ability to see opportunities on edges and get early ball to your centres, and Burton, he can create something out of nothing. He's always a threat to run. Like, he's a runner.
Yeah.
So if Galvin came in, he'd probably have to limit the times he run. It's the opposite to Sexton.
Yeah.
But if you find that balance, it's a great formula for the Bulldogs.
That's a great breakdown, mate.
Do you think that the two of them would play well together in the fact that Galvin at 6? So it almost seems stylistically, one's a game controller and one's quite off the cuff.
I spoke to Gus last year, and he said Burton is not an organiser.
No.
At all. Like,
Zero.
he's not at all. He's not only not an organiser, he's quiet. He's quiet off the field, he's quiet on it. So he needs a dominant 7. Like, he needs an organiser. So when this all, and I don't know if I mentioned it on this last week, but when it all kind of broke and everyone was talking up Crichton at moving to fullback, I wouldn't do that. Like, Crichton's the best centre in the game.
Yeah.
I'd move Burton to fullback if that's the case, and have Sexton and Galvin in the halves.
Correct.
Because Burton, you look at Latrell, for example, Burton's the same size, not as like filled out, but he's 6'3", 6'4".
He's bigger than people
He's
think.
a runner. He's a runner, and it brings him into the game as a runner, but also as a extra half, which most fullbacks are.
Yeah.
It gets him in his support play, but it doesn't take his long kicking game away. So
because you can still use it.
Yeah, you can still use it. So Latrell still does it, right? Like, he's their main kicker still, Latrell at fullback. So I would do that if you're going to want to, if Sexton comes out and brains it the next couple of weeks, you're probably more inclined to put Galvin at 5'8" and move Burton. You got to put your ego aside. As a first grade rugby league player at some point, even if he's a rep player to some degree, Burton as well. But for the betterment of the team, that could be a ploy.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Connor Tracy will miss out, but again, it's
that's-
healthy competition.
Does that
in
sound
key
good to you
positions.
guys? But can you
actually
envision
prefer
that?
that.
Well, this is why I asked you the question, because I always like having a structured 7 that has a really good off the cuff sort of creative 5'8". Matty, I've never thought of Matt Burton as a 5'8".
No.
I think he just wanted it.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted, because you get your hands on the ball more, you're more of a key playmaker. Did he play Origin in centres or 5'8"? I can't remember.
I think he played once at 5'8" because we were missing.
Yeah,
Or maybe both. I think he's done one of both.
I think he went all right too, but
Yeah.
I think it was always because he was a 5'8" now. That's right. He was a 5'8" under 18s, 19s, New South Wales, and all coming through. And then the Penrith, because they had such a strong team, they put him in the centres.
Yeah.
And he was a great centre.
Yeah.
But he wanted the move to the Bulldogs was a lot of it was about him moving back to 5'8", which he loves. And it's sort of like Zach Lomax going to Para to play centre, but now he's a winger, and now he's realised I'm actually a better winger.
Yeah.
So maybe Burton is a better centre, could be a better fullback. But
I think he'd be a fantastic fullback.
I don't see why not.
And you get, as you said, you still get the long kicking game. But, like, Sexton isn't doing much wrong. He hasn't got the ability to probably win your comp at 7, but he can steer a ship and have someone like Galvin do the magic.
If
out
you've
wide.
got him at 7 and Galvin at 6 and Burton at fullback, that's a grand final win. That can win a grand final.
100%.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that's no offence to Connor Tracy either.
No, but he's killing it.
Fuck, I think he's got
Because someone has to be the fall guy.
Someone's missing out.
Someone has to be the fall guy.
But I much
I think
prefer
there's less
that.
disruption with that myself.
Yeah.
I think Connor Tracy unfortunately is the fall guy, but in terms of there's not much disruption in the way that you play either.
That's correct. Yeah.
You've got more X factor at 6 now. Not more. They're probably more off the cuff, unpredictable with Galvin than Burton. But then you've got a stronger fullback.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you don't have a new kid coming into half trying to get to your points and and get you around the field. You just got that one position, you know, he has to be out the back and in Birdo and run.
Yeah.
So-
Mind you, I haven't heard that suggested by anyone. That was just my idea.
Well, I'm in total agreement with it. Hence the question.
So all eyes will be on that. This is going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting game anyway. Para have found form. Like, let's have a quick touch on them. Para, they were. I know it's hard that watching that game on the weekend. You got 15th versus 17th. Did not look like it. They're two teams.
Great game.
That at their best are really at their best are a top 8 team. And that's a big rap for Para because the start of the year was horrendous, but they're starting to play well.
Who's the kid playing front row for Para? He's gone from the back row into the front row.
I know you're talking about. I just can't.
He's been outstanding.
Right, front row to the back row, yeah.
Jack Williams. How good has he been?
You can tell Rolls took him under his wing and really got him there.
But it just shows you how much our game's changing as well. With a big man, it's still there, but that ability to move side to side and quick feet, good leg speed, quick play of the balls. He's been outstanding, and I've said it for a couple of weeks now. I really like the style that they're playing. They're moving the ball really well. That was a fantastic game.
They're like we said it a few months ago. Rolsey has to take a few steps back to go forwards, and he has done that. Whatever they've changed in their defense is working now, and their attack is evolving every week.
Yeah,
Mitch Moses has been a huge influence on that. But yeah, it's I think it's good. Junior Barlow, actually, I was going to mention there. Like I said to him last night, you look fit, and
he does.
And he said, he thanked his nutritionist at the Parramatta Eels. I think he's averaging 110, 111 kilos at the moment, and he was 122 last year.
Yeah. Great.
So he's dropped 10 kilos. And he said that because of the evolution of our game and the mobile forwards these days, because remember, with him and Campbell Gillard, they'd fallen behind. They got left behind because Campbell Gillard's a big, loping, front rower, not really mobile. And Junior playing at 122 is similar. And now Junior's got more footwork. He's fitter. He's lighter, and he's got that offload. It's dangerous, right? So, kudos to Para, actually. Share that to them. They're going great, like considering the start they had. Let's go to the Broncos now. Let's not go to spend too much time on this. It has been spoken about a lot the first couple of days of this week on all levels and on social media and podcasts and shows. So, they're a power club. They haven't won a comp in 19 years. They've got the biggest nursery and they've got the most money. Yet they find themselves in a position of hurt right now.
Yeah.
A lot of it's been, is it Michael Maguire? Is it the players? Is it the board? Who's to blame for this? And not only who's to blame for it, I suppose that's over here. It's like, can they get out of this? Can they make the finals? Is their season over?
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
It's getting tiring, isn't it, talking about it? It's been on everyone's radar for a couple of weeks, and you do have to talk about it when a club's so powerful, but just so negative about the club at the moment. And that game against Manly, that was it 5 tries off kicks, and it was their level of desperation that was alarming for me. Like, I didn't watch it end to end, but I just thought, look, there was too many players around the ball, and I'm thinking, is that the coach? Is that the player? Do you stand up? Do you have a little bit of self-respect and want to turn on a good performance? And then they're dropping simple ball. When you're so down on confidence, right? You know what it's like when you're winning, Braith. It's awful. Being at Para as well. We only won 6 games in 2013. Yet we didn't have the roster of the Broncos. But once you get in that hole, it's so hard to get out of it. And you be training hard. Everyone's connected. You turn up and it just doesn't work for you. Doesn't work for you. The whole Madge conversation, right? Is he the right person for the job? Is he too hard? He needs to change. I hear that from Buzz. What's he going to change now? You've got a small window as a coach to get your players to buy in. Once you lose the group, you've lost the group. I've seen this with assistant coaches when they become head coaches. If they're too close to the players and become a head coach, they don't get the playing group. So Madge, the only way out, just say that it's a Madge situation and he's lost the playing group, he needs to change the roster. He needs to make some hard decisions and get rid of the people within that squad that are driving the negativity. Because I guarantee you, there would be 2 or 3 that would be driving it.
Yep.
If there is a problem.
I'm going to back you up on this. I think the board of the Broncos have made the call to get Madge in there. They've had 4 coaches the last 8 years. Now, they can't sack him. They've made the call. They knew what they were getting when they signed Madge. I think they need to they're not going to sack him, because if they sack him, they'll get sacked. Because then Gordy made a good point on 360. If they employed him, they employed the other coaches, the other 1 or 2 beforehand, they can't be seen to be, because they're the ones making the poor decisions. So they're not going to sack him. So he's got at least this year, and I reckon next. You're spot on. I reckon they just got to go, Madge, make some tough calls, keep doing what you're doing, because we go back to the soft underbelly we've spoken about all year, and this is from game 1 we've been saying it.
Yep.
These guys have always been told yes. They've always been given everything that they've needed up there. You know, they've always been the kings of Brisbane regardless of their results. Well, that's 19 years now, right? It's time to rebuild the club and build some resilience, tenacity, toughness, and something you can build a foundation with, right? They don't have that. And they haven't had it forever, and they've got away just off the back of skill and off the back of just having natural talent and the pick of the crop up there. They're going to now you got Payne Haas who might want to move on. You're not going to get the pick of the crop anymore. You've got Gold Coast and the Dolphins and 2 new teams coming in. Yeah. And now that they've got this bit of stench about them, those kids won't be hanging around anymore like they used to. No. So Dearden come through the system there and ended up at the Cowboys. So they have to take a hit here and stay solid and really try and change the culture and the type of player that a Brisbane Broncos player was. And that's going to probably, like it is now, they're feeling the heat and they're copping some pain. But we talk about short-term pain for,
long-term success.
Long-term success. Yeah. Like it's unfortunate, and I think people have got to be patient with it. But, you can't just have a new coach come in who I spoke to like weeks ago, and he didn't realise the job he had. He knew it was a big one, but how monumentally behind they were in certain areas and attitudes, so he's got a big job. Imagine he's to find that balance in how he delivers the messages to players. I'm not sure if that's just speculation. I've never played under Madge, but, he's quite ruthless and relentless. And
well, let's just say he does change a little bit. You can't change with the current roster because they see straight through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I say you've only got a small window to have players to buy in, because once you lose a group, you're fucked.
Yeah. And if he loses the group, you're saying just piss him off.
How many would have to go?
You can't lose Payne Haas.
He has to get rid of whoever's causing the drama. And he'd have an idea.
Well, it doesn't look like it's Payne because he's playing great still.
Of course. But there'd be players within the group that he'd have a feeling would be driving something. And this is all speculation.
Yeah.
They could be all fucking getting along great
Reno
and
shut
all
it
connected.
down yesterday.
Sorry?
He shut it.
Well, that's what Reno's paid to do. He's the captain of the club.
I'm just telling you.
You know what I mean? And
you said it, not me.
Yeah. I love Reno. And congrats on your 300th game. I mean, he's been unreal.
He has.
He's
not going to come out and say, we don't like each other and we don't like Madge.
I just think, you know what? I think now that the beats are drumming and it's getting louder and they're realising they're not getting any sympathy.
Yeah.
And they're trying to turn. Huh?
Nothing. You said the beats are drumming.
The drum. What did I?
The drums are beating. Sorry, normally I let it go, but fuck it.
I can't hear.
So the beats are drumming. Keep going.
Yeah, the beats are drumming.
Sorry, man.
I've lost my train of thought.
I threw you off. I apologise.
We'll go back. When he was at South, at the end of his South,
I feel bad now.
At the end of his South tenure after winning them the comp, he lost the dressing sheds there.
Yeah.
Was Reno still there then?
Reno was there. He was.
So,
yeah.
And now it's all the whispers are around that he's lost the dressing shed.
They have won a couple of wins and things turn around.
When you're losing, but Ren, when you're losing, and not only you're losing, but you've got a coach like Madge, you got to go watch the video. I know you're going to get hammered. Then you got to go do wrestling, and it's the lowest place on earth. Isn't it?
You should have seen Sticky back in 2013.
That's what I'm saying.
Old catch arsehole. He turned up the trainer with bloodshot eyes. You're just like, fuck, here we go. And he turned up.
Place,
we played the Titans once in Mudgee, and he did a 90-minute fucking captain's run, full contact. because he had the shits.
Yeah.
That's what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I've been there.
You know, like
Who
you
was
can't
yours?
like.
No, it was with him.
Oh, with him.
Yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
Roosters.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
when I first
know.
got there, I had 2 torn groins and he made me play through them. I couldn't step off either foot or kick, and we started losing games. They just signed me to replace Freddie, and I'm
Yeah.
like, and he's just riding me like a dead horse and training me like, and I was just like, this is the lowest ever.
Yeah.
And you get embarrassed, and then it just turns.
Well,
into a
this is
nightmare.
one thing with Stick is if he's got your back, he's got your back.
Yeah,
And
then
you
it
know
switches.
that.
Yeah,
But if he's off you,
He's off you. You
no,
know
it's rocks
better.
or diamonds.
he's cat's asshole.
Yeah, it's rocks or diamonds. All right, let's get to Origin. Origin. Well, I mean, let's just talk about. Firstly, Mitch Barnett,
Yeah.
ACL, poor Mitch. He's great game one. He's actually a big loss. And I'd say people underestimate the impact he had in that first 20, 30 minutes with him and Payne. Like, they were both going, it wasn't just Payne. Like, he was like,
He was solid.
they were making huge meters and he was denting the line. So, he's obviously out now for the rest of the year. It's a shame for the Warriors too, man, because they're flying. But anyway, like, I feel sorry for them. But who comes in? Who comes in for him?
It's got to be Stefano. You got Keon there. I like Keon in the middle. I think he gives you that little bit of footwork around the ruck. You know, it's tight forwards, quick play of the ball, bit of an offload. He's got a pass. But just given what we spoke about in the car, Stefano was in the extended bench.
Doesn't mean he'll play though.
Would you play Max King at the start, as you said in game one, and then bring someone with more impact off the bench?
Yeah, that's a good point you make. You could use Max King as a Barnett. Yeah.
He was great, by the way, Maxie.
Yeah,
He went well.
Thought he was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even coming off the bench,
Yep.
I would have preferred to start him.
Yeah.
But I thought he held his own.
It was a good.
I just liked
No.
your point in pre-game one of
Yeah,
that.
no, you could do that. Yeah, I think that's a good point you make. I'd forgotten about it because they didn't do it, but it's a good point. I think, back to Ren's point, and I was only G'ing up again, but like Utoi Kamani, if you name him in the squad and he's around all week and he's a chance of playing because Payne Haas was was in doubt with that quad injury, so you've got a ready-made front rower who's in good form for Melbourne to just come
Slot
in.
straight in.
There's going to be people, probably upset about Terrell May again because there's a big push for him still. Kalao Matangi, I'd put him in a heartbeat too. I'd easily have him in there, but I don't see it as a huge. Kalao Matangi's probably more like a Barnett in some degree, but he's in near career best form in the middle.
I just think New South Wales have enough strike. Let's just stick with a solid first front row.
Yeah.
And just
he's a big body too.
Just a
you
like
talk
for
about
like,
him.
yeah,
He's,
true.
he's going to attract defenders and he's playing good. I think he's going under the radar a bit in Melbourne, but so you'd probably lean towards that.
I'll go Stefano. Yeah.
All right. Now, DCE, Brent Reid on the weekend, on the Saturday, came out and said that DCE at this point right now won't be in game 2. Now, for Brent Reid to say that, and I know him very well through 360, he doesn't go out on a limb very often, Reedy. So I straight away thought he's had direct mail from Queensland. And then when he was on Monday night, he said he's had a numerous mail from good sources inside the camp that DCE won't be there. So he come out and killed it at Four Pines on the weekend against a Brisbane team who, they're struggling. But he was great, so were Manly. But this looks like it's going to happen. What's your thoughts on this? I'm
not convinced. I thought he played quite well. And how's a half meant to play well off the back of their go forward? You made a great point that Harry Grant was carrying the ball too far into the line. That didn't give his half enough opportunity. Given, I don't think he played that bad. Like, given what
he didn't.
The whole team and the scheme of it wasn't great.
Cameron played bad too, right?
Yeah.
Like, they all played poor. But what I think about Ren, you don't watch that game one and go, he should be dropped, right? If you're looking at the whole team. But I reckon he was on borrowed time before the series, and they must have been umming and ahhing whether they're going to pick him game 1 or not. And they've gone with him, and they've thought, you know what, maybe we're due for a change. We need to freshen up.
You need Dearden in there. Yeah. So
Dearden was so good the season, like the year before, even though that lost, wasn't he? Like he was
even. If you go and watch the last 15 minutes, they put him at 7 or as a extra half there, and Harry went back to 9. And that's when they look their most likely. I reckon Billy's watched that too. Obviously, he's watched it. But he's probably dived into that a bit. Because the game was over, many would have realised, but I was watching it at the end and I watched it again. And he threw out cut-out pass to the winger that they ruled forward. That was a try, and he just looked dangerous. And I reckon they've got his added spark there. Just going back to Harry, and because I brought it up on, again, 360 on after the game. And the reason I watch Harry so closely is because he's obviously the 9 for Melbourne, and I look after Kem, so I'm always watching Kem's game really closely. And Harry does it for Melbourne. Sometimes he just overplays his hand a little bit.
Yeah.
He just takes that one or two many steps. And for Melbourne, I feel like because let's get something straight, he's a freak.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
2 or 3 best 9s. But I really got exposed at Origin. And everyone sort of talks about the 6 and 7 that it impacted, and it did impact both DCE and Cameron. That extra step that he took, and even jumping on a dummy after that kick, like they trained all week for this 6 or 7 to kick over to what we spoke about.
That was bizarre.
Over or with Coates. And he just jumped out and did it. And he does that often. Like if you watch his game a lot, he does it a lot, but he can get away with it at clubland. And he was like, it was unusual for him in terms of his first 40 minutes. And I said it was probably his worst 40 he's ever played. And I think he'd admit that. But where I think it went unnoticed a bit is how much it impacted their forwards.
Yeah.
Like, I went and watched the vision again in that first 40. A few times he'd jump to the left, then he'd go, and then he'd come back, and Carrigan would overrun the ball and have to take a step back.
Yeah.
But in Origin, they're in your face.
It's just off the deck.
Off the fucking deck.
Yeah.
Throw the ball. Like even to get 6 or 7, you just want it here in Origin.
Yeah.
Because your time and space is limited as it is. They're in your face. The speed of the line's quicker. It's harder to find space. So if you've got a split second or a metre or two disadvantage because your 9's taking too long, you're already behind the 8 ball there.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. And I saw it not only with the 6 and 7, but even their forwards. Like he wasn't hitting them on the advantage line at speed, ball out in front. So I think, that, and this worries me now getting back to Origin, is that we weren't that good.
No.
We still don't know how good we are.
Mm.
Everyone's saying we're going to be great because we weren't that good and won. But that doesn't mean that we can go to that next level yet because we haven't been tested.
Mm.
And our spine hasn't been tested still. Our halves were fantastic, but again, we don't know. They can be great. We know that, and I've said that. They can go on a dynasty here, but it may not. And Queensland were shocking. So we know they're going to improve. Harry's not going to do that again.
Mm.
Cameron is not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Carrigan, isn't going to play the way he played again.
And we still only won by 12 points.
Yeah.
It's true.
So it's
Will they kick off to Spencer?
What do we think of that?
That was fucking atrocious.
That is, I don't even want to use the word, the softest moment in Origin history.
Oof.
History.
Big call.
That is your fucking head on a plate. We're going after him. Club footy. Can you imagine telling Ogo we're going to kick away from someone he's going after?
Could you imagine
Even
Gordon,
Steve Price would fire up.
what about imagine Gordon Tallis was in that team and they didn't kick to him?
Well, I asked him and he went, he started doing the beep, beep, beep.
Even
reverse.
play
I said,
two.
hang on, Gordy. I played against you, mate, in Origin and for Brisbane. There's no way you're not saying kick it to fucking him, and we're going to take him on.
Would have been Webke would have just been standing there going, "You're mine."
Right, him and Reedy were going, it wasn't. Why give them what they want?
Well, go and get
you
it.
should want it, but
You should want it.
Well,
they're not players. They don't know what it's like. They've never ran out and said, we're going to get this bloke. But play 2, they didn't even go after him.
Yeah, that's what Reedy tried to say. He also said, I think Gordy said that he'd been killing it. He just got on the field. He hadn't taken a hit up on him, I don't think.
That was the biggest win for New South Wales there. And I don't think he can ever come back from that.
Well, Billy said that because is it Holmes who kicks off?
Yeah,
He's
Holmes kicked off. That's what he was.
It's
He
all
said he
bullshit,
tried to
man.
throw the
Get someone
numbers.
else kick off.
I've kicked and I'm a 3-man and it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you kick. You just peel back and fill in. And everyone covers your space.
Pussycats.
I heard that.
It was the biggest
Spence, what a
excuses. They just had excuses and denial.
Spence was in there. Oh.
Did you see him warming up?
He's not all there, eh?
I love it.
Yeah, I love it
We
too.
love it. But he was
love him.
geeing the crowd up. Oh, fuck.
But that's even more. You can see him on the sideline doing that. And
all bets are off. I don't care what Billy Slater has to say. If he's my head on a plate, we're kicking. No.
They have to
Tino,
now.
you're going after him.
They have to now. because everyone's put heat on them. Like, regardless of whether it's a game plan or not, they're going for Spencer
the
now.
softest moment in Origin history.
Ooh.
Easily.
Blow, mate.
What's softer than that? Fucking
Much
Queensland Muppets.
I agree.
The emotions coming out. We'll move on from that. Is there anything else in Origin you want to cover?
No. You know what? I'd probably I can't remember where I heard it, but I'd look at bringing Josh Papali'i back in.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Bringing Josh, bit of
footy, isn't he?
experience, just aggression and some intimidation factor. Because outside of Tino, like, what's the other front rower's name? The Rooster?
Collins.
He don't scare me. Who's he going to scare?
Off at the moment, isn't he, Lindsay?
The back.
But they had Cotter playing left back, and he got pumped.
We spoke
Crichton
about
just
we
jammed him. We did
spoke
speak about that.
Yeah. There's no intimidation.
Well, they're going to
factor in
change
it.
that. He
I'd
won't.
look at there's obviously Horsburgh, Josh Papali'i, Suarez he's out now, isn't he?
Yeah.
They need some intimidation. They need some whack.
Just one quick question. You mentioned the halves did the job. What did you think of the two halves together?
Yeah, they were really good. The kicking game went. You can't underestimate. I said the field position in Origins, everything.
Yeah.
And they make it look effortless. Their kicking, it wasn't anything spectacular, but it kind of was. In a way, that their kicks, they kick it so high and long, especially Moses, that you underestimate how much of an advantage they have having both those guys who can kick long and high, because it's hard to find grass at Origin because you've got the best of the best and the back three are always elite, and you're kicking a lot of the time from your 20, 30, 40, which New South Wales weren't. They were in good field position. They were probably kicking 20 or 30 metres further than any other Origin for some reason. So often you can't find grass, so you've just got to not put it in the in-goal area and get a 7 tackle, but you've got to kick it as high and as
deep as
far as you can so the chase can get there.
Yeah, you need hang time.
Yeah, and they've got that.
Yeah.
Which Queensland, don't really have, or we've just got an advantage there. We didn't really get to see them combine too much. Their attack wasn't great, to be fair, but they still come up with big moments that, the first try, their recognition, their class is it is what you see. They can improve by a long way.
Yeah.
One other quick one, Rob Toyer, Big Bobby Toyer. I thought he was a pass mark in a losing side.
Yeah, he did well.
Kept Latrell
He could
pretty
have
quiet.
passed once.
Yeah, he did it again.
He's got to find that pass. He's got to execute those, especially in Origin.
We spoke about that the week before.
You need to do
Yeah.
that. In Origin, you get limited opportunities to take.
But,
and it's about moments.
Yeah.
And he missed a moment there.
Just that way. But outside of that, fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
Fantastic.
All right, this is an interesting one. And we'll have a bit of fun with this, or maybe not. Now, there's been petitioning from both the Roosters and the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Bunnies, they want to go back to Allianz.
So they want to come back to the eastern suburbs.
Calm down. I haven't set the
It's
tone
more
yet.
Parkside or eastern suburbs. It's more South Sydney.
And a core. They want to leave a core. Now, to give a bit of background on this, it's 820 something million for the Allianz, and all the South fans and a lot of the people in the game are saying it's the taxpayers' dollars and the fans should be given every opportunity, which is it's hard to argue that. It really is hard to argue that. And all the journos last night were all for it, and I found it hard sitting there arguing because it's hard to argue, right? But then there is another element to this that people don't know. A lot of people do know that the Bunnies turned their back on Allianz for money to go to Accor. When they turned their back on them, then
Turn their back.
they turned their back not only on Allianz, they turned their back on the fans because all their fans like
it was a financial decision. Were they struggling financially? Well, you've got.
Well, for Rusty is he's
okay. Yeah.
So the Bulldogs did the same. They went out they took the money.
Yeah.
So
but the Roosters didn't. So the Roosters trained
because they don't have enough supporters. They're not going to travel to Homebush, are they? They've got no fans.
The Roosters trained out of Demountables for years until that stadium was built.
Trained
on Moore Park. Trained at Moore Park, shit surface, and didn't chase money. Just rode it out, knowing that they were going to be the number one team and beat it. I'm just giving you background.
Yeah.
There's an argument both ways here.
Yeah.
I'm full aware of that.
Yeah.
And I can see you've got your South hat on for once. Which is fine because we've got a heavy Rooster here.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one for me because you know, there's arguments both ways.
I don't think the surf. One thing I've noticed with the surface at Allianz, it's not up to scratch yet either. So taking any more footy than it already has.
Oh, come on.
It's not. I'm being.
Come on, mate.
They
You
need to
guys
get it
at
better.
Roosters do not own that. So my taxpayer dollars, your taxpayer dollars are paying for that stadium. Why do the Roosters get it? Why can't they share it? Well, South. No.
Do you want to really
what's
share?
What's the heartland of Roosters territory?
Paddington
Bondi?
next door. Paddo across the road.
It should be. You should be able to play there. South should be able to play
you know, the hard thing is, like, even for me, is putting up a fight for the Chooks. Like, all the South fans I know would just die for it to be back there. They hate going to, you know.
But do they really want to share our home ground?
They'll only be there one time just to play. Go in the dressing room, run out and play, and then piss off.
But now it's turned into a kind of battle between the clubs now. It's more than that. So now
that's what it is.
The fans, and now it's getting personal, and this is going to get even more personal because the hatred between the two teams. Blake, Solly, and Nick are going to go. This is going to get real heated.
Yeah.
But they're all leveraging their political, you know, their connections in politics. I think Chris Mims is a fan of South, maybe, and you've got what's his name? I don't know, but Nick's I don't know where Nick sits on this, like in terms of politics, because I think South have the power, and that Albanese's a South fan.
Yeah, that hurts.
Well, so I think they're in trouble, Roosters. But South are in trouble because not only is there a dress code at Allianz, there's a teeth code. So you know, you don't get let in with a ripped shirt if you got no teeth. You fucking
wow,
that was good.
Wow,
he's come back. Nick would be so proud
you need
of
to have a full deck of teeth.
Full Barry beef.
You can't have more than one missing. So they're in trouble.
What about half?
So it's a small crowd.
Half a tooth.
It's a small crowd.
Sorry, I had to chuck that one. That was a bit harsh.
But you know what? It's those rivalries that make the game. Like it's great.
I don't see any problem with.
I can't see the Roosters winning it, like the battle.
They don't have a say.
Like, as much as it for me being heavy Roosters opposed to South.
But aren't they contracted to a core till 20?
Yeah, but see what happens. That's another thing. With South, they signed the contract with the proviso that they would fix the stadium to a certain degree where they'd bring it closer, upgrade it, the stadium, and they'd bring it closer and more on top.
Oh yeah,
like because it's too far away. They call it like.
A terrific.
And they haven't done that, supposedly. They've only just put a new big screen in and done some kind of cosmetic things around the joint, but not up to the standard.
So they can break the contract.
Well, they must be able to. They're aiming for next year, 26.
Yeah.
They're aiming for 26.
Yeah. I'm signing the petition.
You don't even care. You're just as if you give a shit.
I actually don't care. If I get to go to a game, at least it's closer, you know, like everyone else goes to the Rabbit, so I might just go to a game here and there. But now I'm a Rooster fan. I'm going out to that.
You're always a Rooster fan.
Yeah, but I didn't realise how good that fucking stadium was.
It's a great stadium, isn't it?
It is.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, well, watch this space. This will be a fun one. Get the popcorn out, and I had Nick ringing me after the show last night, so I'll call him back today. You know what? Blake Solly might be coming on 360.
Did you see that show of force by the Roosters?
Oh yeah.
Oh, what was they had some ambulance staff and stuff?
No, it's because they've got it's the SES.
They didn't just go there to talk about that.
I thought this is a show of force.
No,
we don't want.
But Joe Kelly did give a very good speech.
You would have just got asked the question at a different event.
Okay,
yeah, and but he knew he was going to get asked.
Yeah,
because he could tell he did the Churchillian Mel Gibson speech.
There you go.
For Braveheart,
the beats are drumming.
The beats are drumming. All right, let's do the preview.
All right.
Do we need some music or something to get us into it? No?
I can't hear shit, man.
It's probably a good thing.
Just quickly, this comp is getting very close. You've got teams like Roosters, Tigers that are 2 points out of the 8, 2 points from last. It's
an open competition. At this point right now, anyone can win it, really, can't they?
This has got to be the
Newcastle, but
no. There's probably there's actually a lot of teams that couldn't win it, but they can nearly all make the 8.
Yeah.
I saw there's an interesting stat on Instagram. If the game was only played for 60 minutes, the Roosters would be on
Yeah, I
top.
saw that.
They've lost so many
don't go
games.
Oh,
Roosters.
Sam Walker's back this week, right?
Next
Yeah,
week,
in
next
Reggie's.
week.
No, he's in Reggie's this week.
In Reggie's this
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Ah,
I
that's
thought they were
great.
going to arrest him or not. Yeah.
I didn't say rest him. I just said if
You
he
would
wasn't
rest
going to.
him.
What?
You said you would rest him.
No, I did not.
And you said they wouldn't be a chance.
I
to
said
make
if
it
they
in.
weren't going to make the 8,
And Joey Manu was at the game. So I saw Joey Manu was around. Is there any whispers around he could be returning?
He's
I'd
been
love
training
to.
with Roger Fabry.
I'd love to see him back in a Roosters jersey.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
They
He
got
did-
him back. At
Imagine
the
they
end of
got
the
him and Sam Walker back. Could they win the comp?
year.
stop it.
Yeah, definitely.
They can't make. They've got to make the 8 first.
Oh, fuck.
You had him gone 2 months ago. You're an Aspen and Reedy. We know. You Aspen and you Galvin and Reedy.
All right, talking about Newcastle Knights, they're back at home, $2.82 against Manly Seagulls, $1.44.
I can't back him.
Yeah,
I can't back
inconsistent
him.
of Manly. How inconsistent of Manly?
Yeah, well, we know that, but Newcastle.
You can't go Newcastle.
Well, I said it a couple of weeks ago.
Is it
They've
in
got no-
Newcastle?
Yeah, it's in
Yeah,
Yeah,
Newcastle.
but mate,
so
Manly,
don't-
they're rocks or diamonds.
How can you pick Newcastle?
You can't.
You know? I said it. They've got no creativity out of 9.
Quick question, Lehigh Hopewadi, how
He's
good is
great.
he?
He's really good. He's such a good player.
He looks like he weighs 70 kilos
Yeah,
and plays
but
like he's 140.
strong. Yeah, they can't get him on his
He's
back.
like the
He's
Hulk.
strong. He's a
Like Clark
Hopewadi.
Kent. He's just like
Well, he's had to wrestle Dad off giving him a
How's,
flogging. so
how's
that's
his
why.
hair do that? Have you
Just
seen
like
his
a-
hair do?
You can just imagine him just rocking the dance floor, you know?
Great player. I'm going to go Manly. I just can't.
Yeah, I got to go Manly.
I can't see improvement in Newcastle.
You can't, yeah, no.
Next.
All right, next, Melbourne Storm at home, $1.21 against North Queensland Cowboys.
Yeah, I think Melbourne are going to really bounce back from last week. They won, but they were poor against the Gold Coast. Bellyache nearly jumped out of the box. He didn't sit down the whole game. Like, they were so bad.
What's happening with them? Like, honestly, what he's doing?
I mean, it was a terrible night. You know, they didn't have Harry and
Yeah, but it's been a theme
No, it
this
has
year,
been.
like their
But
inconsistency.
that's my point. I think that they don't very rarely do it for a couple of weeks in a row. Back in Melbourne, they had a rocket up them. You know, they're fresh. They don't have Origin players backing up. You know, they'll have Harry back in the side.
Yeah.
You know, I think they just put a show on this week. I think they win easily.
Okay, I'll go Melbourne as well.
Yeah. In saying that as well, I just want to make a point. North Queensland Cowboys, I think a lot of people would have had them almost running
Yeah.
last. They're now back in the 6th.
They're dangerous.
Yeah.
I just think it's a bad week to meet Melbourne for them.
Yep, agreed. We now go to the Dolphins, $1.53. They got the hammer back in against St George Illawarra, $2.52.
St George.
Yeah, they're playing the
Yeah,
Dragons.
St.
Didn't they
George.
play him not long ago? Am I tripping?
Yeah, they did.
2 weeks
Yeah,
ago? Am I
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm sure they did not long ago.
I think you could be right.
Can you check that? How weird is that? Or am I
Yeah.
off my head?
Maybe. Coffee
Who did
lemon
Dragons
spread?
play last
Nah, it's a
week?
while ago.
Oh, was it a while ago?
Yeah, it would have at least it's more than 4
It would have been
weeks.
about 6
That's how
weeks ago.
lost I am.
Who did Dragons play last week?
Dragons won at home.
They beat the Knights.
No.
They won at Jubilee.
That was a tough watch, that game. Actually.
Oh my god! That
was very
first
tough.
20
That was
minutes.
some high quality football.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what? The Dolphins when they're on, I love watching them play.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the Dolphins. I'm not sold on the Dragons. I'm just
Yeah.
not sold on them. You know, they're that team that probably one team you can't see reaching great heights. So they'll win their fair share and they'll continue to do that. They could sneak into the 8 for sure. I'm not doubting that. But you know, they don't have. They've got a first and second gear, and that's about where it's capped. And if they get to second, they're in the fight. You know, but I don't think they've got a third.
No. They're like a team that can produce a 7 out of 10. And if you don't rock up that day and produce your
Yeah, that's
7
what they
and
do.
a half.
Yeah, and they do it most weeks. To be fair, it's just
Yeah.
the Roosters game, maybe one other they haven't, but this year.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins, when they're on, I'm looking at this game. Is it in? It's up there.
It's up there.
Yeah, it's up there away. The Dolphins are anywhere above 70-80%. They win.
They win.
Yeah, Dolphins.
Dolphins. All right. This is probably going to be the game of the round. Cronulla Sharks, $1.49 at home against the New Zealand Warriors, $2.63.
Jeez, the Warriors have had to travel a bit. They would have stayed here, wouldn't they, from last week?
I don't think so.
They've been. What a year it's been for them, and they still keep winning games.
Who comes in for
They
Barnett?
lost Barnett. 1 sec. We'll get that up for you.
The Sharks have the bye after losing the Roosters, did they? They must have.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they're coming off a bye.
Who's the front row for the Warriors?
They've got James Fisher-Harris and Jackson Ford.
I think the bubble could burst for Warriors this week.
That could
Yeah,
be.
the
What's Darren
bubble could
Clark
burst.
been?
Oh, great. They've all been. But you just saw, like, they should have hammered South, and then Latrell just went ding, ding, ding from nowhere. And it wasn't crazy. I mean, that pass was amazing to Johnston. But even that run, like, Latrell should do that more. He's unstoppable almost from there. But I reckon it could be a tough week for the Warriors. I think they could take its toll this week. The amount of travel, they've been up here for a long period now. They've been they've been up to their eyeballs in every game they've played. They've been so impressive. I actually love them.
Barnett
but
missing. for the rest
without
of the year.
Barnett, I fear this could be a tough one. I reckon the
Yeah.
Sharks could
coming
do them
back
pretty
fresh
well.
after a bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Sharks with you on that one.
Okay.
Put it this way, we'll get to know a lot about the Warriors this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
We go to Suncorp again. We have Brisbane Broncos, $1.32 against Gold Coast Titans,
I'm
$3.41.
just going the Broncos because I feel like this is
Make or break.
not make or break. It is their biggest game of the year. Like with all the heat on them, playing their crosstown rivals, so-called little brother, who aren't going good.
Yeah.
They lose to them, mate. Oh, whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given it's Renault's 300.
Reece Walsh is back too, and 300 for Renault.
They'll be
Lock
off
it in,
this.
Eddie.
Lock it in,
You know
Eddie.
what? I'm going
Oh,
big scoreline.
big
Ooh.
score.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're the type of team, when they get the win behind them, they can really put
I'm
points
going
on.
big scoreline.
All right. Talking about sticky just before. Canberra Raiders, $1.49 against South Sydney Rabbitohs,
How good
$2.63.
are Canberra going?
They just don't go away, do they?
The Roosters should
They're a
not have lost
tough
that game.
team.
Their fullback, what's his name? Is it
It's that young half that came in last
Kaya
week too.
Weeks.
Kaya Weeks?
He's quick.
Kaya Weeks.
Tamale. Fucking
Tamale. He's
no
like
one can tackle
Hopewadi.
him.
He's like Hopewadi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sanders, Ethan Sanders was very good, but it
Very.
favored his back. Stranger's good again. Like they're so good. Like
They've got
the
genuine
Roosters
depth.
played really good the other night
Yeah.
and still couldn't get them.
Yep.
But South, they get Cody Walker and Jack Whiten back. That's huge. Where is it? In Canberra.
In Canberra.
This is the game of the round.
Yep.
This is the game of the round.
Yep.
This is it's going to be close.
This would be the strongest roster South have put together in
All
a long
year.
time.
All
yeah.
year.
All year, full stop.
They had opportunities at the back end of that game last week, Rabbits, to win that.
Oh yeah,
You know, they should have. Well, they had a turnover and there was.
It could be an
96
upset, this.
behind. Yeah, I'm going to go South. I'm going for the upset.
Going for the upset.
Jackie
I'm going
Boy
to
back in
stick with
Canberra.
Canberra
I love Canberra
in
by
a
the way.
close
Yeah.
one, just because I think they got a much better pack.
Okay.
And, a few players coming back from injury, a little bit raw maybe.
Yep.
Just, mate. I'm loving South this week, but I'm just going to lean towards Canberra.
All right, we go to Combank. West Tigers, $3.18 against Penrith Panthers after getting the win, $1.36.
Luai.
Go Lachlan Galvin.
Luai v. Cleary. I think.
Penrith looked so good last week.
How good did they look?
They look like Penrith. There's a bit of Penrith of
Yeah.
the
We've
whole.
said it
didn't
once before this year, so I'm hesitant to say they're back, but that was their best of the year. Because Para played really good and Cleary,
He
ice
just
man.
stood up, didn't he?
Clutch. I just, in
40-20.
big moments, kicking game, kicking goals, and that 40-20 was enormous.
Yeah.
You can't tip against Penrith.
No, I'll go the riff.
All right. And let me
Game
just-
of the round. This one.
This is game fun. There's a few game of the rounds. At least there's a bit of footy. A few games we are excited for here. I wish it was at Belmore, but we go to a core $1.42 against Parramatta Eels.
Yeah, what a game.
$2.89.
This will be a big crowd, man.
Big crowd. This will be packed.
Yeah.
This could be a record, could it? No.
King's birthday, King's birthday, Monday. 50, 60,000. Rivalry.
Yeah.
If Galvin will play or not. I love what Para's doing. I think they're playing. They're just building. Probably not as roster for roster. They don't have the,
Yeah, I agree.
The
I just don't
stripe-
think they're at the level of the Bulldogs yet.
2 former clubs.
Yeah, it's the Reni and Mace Cup.
Mate,
You give him the trophy out?
I'm going to go Para in an upset.
Oof. And if Galvin comes on and has a little bit of a shocker late or does something wrong, could you see the fans turn on him? Or do you think they're gonna stick loyal?
They're pretty loyal.
Yeah, they're
loyal.
loyal.
Like in all fairness, like you've got some lunatics there, but every club does. But they see beyond that. They stick solid. I think the Dogs would be too good.
I tell you, yeah. Well, look, I like a team that moves the ball against a structured defence.
Yeah.
I think they can cause a lot of dramas for the Dogs this week. That's why I'm going Para.
I think we could be cutting this up next week and having it as one of our reels. Reni picks the biggest upset of the round.
We could.
We'll see what happens.
But I'm going with the Dogs. But I can see what you're saying.
You can see what he's saying, yeah. Moving in transition.
Yeah.
You love that. You love teams that do it, definitely. I agree.
It's like against Melbourne when you sort of throw a few offloads in there, disrupt their defensive line, they're more vulnerable. Unibet tips. I'm going to give a couple here. I'd either go Melbourne by a long way, 13 plus, or I'd go 13 plus Melbourne, or I'd go Brisbane the same up there against the Titans. I think they're the two games this week I'd stand out as being dominant wins to those two.
I'm going to go Para in an upset and the Fox anytime try scorer.
Okay.
That's my Unibet of the week.
And I'm going to go the Dolphins to win and Hammer to get a try.
Yeah, I like that.
Beautiful,
all right,
lads.
boys. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your
next
footy.
week for my birthday.
What's gambling really costing you?